just responding to comment and request. I've used carnivora. I use a lot of things, though. The best is high-quality enzymes. I'll get to that in a minute. Can someone debunk this link to a Nature article on the effects of a specific thing? If it kills one cancer and stimulates destruction of bad cells, or dying cells, which is supposed to be a good thing, is that okay? Now, I'm going to bring up a couple of things here, but I'm going to bring up literally snake oil, and enzymes, and ganja. Cannabis cures cancer. No. I'm going to say that first thing. No. If you are worried about getting lung cancer and you smoke cigarettes, if you switch to smoking cigarettes based on marijuana, it has a tendency of reducing your likelihood of having cancer for only one reason. Instead of just damaging the cells and giving them cancer, I'm going to say something rather bold here, marijuana actually does the same amount of damage and then a little bit more and kills the cells entirely. So the cells that would get cancer, if it contained any carcinogen, I'm assuming there's carcinogens, the effect is that it kills the cells entirely. Your body then just simply treats it as damaged cells and replaces them. This still increases the damage to the lungs. It is harsher, and it is more likely to cause other medical problems, but at least it won't cause lung cancer as easily as cigarettes. You know what causes even less cancer? Not doing either of them. It's not that it cures cancer, it's that it's less likely to kill you. The only thing less likely to give you cancer is just not smoking marijuana at all. Could it have a therapeutic benefit by killing off cancer cells before they go crazy? That I have not had a study done of, except for one I found that was kind of badly done, where they had people who had a high likelihood of getting cancer and were being treated for lung damage that could lead to cancer. That was highly likely to do it, specific things. And they had a lower incidence of lung cancer because they smoked cigarettes and then smoked marijuana, which is a pretty common practice. Maybe it would, but that's one out of hundreds of different types of cancer. No, if you have bladder cancer, you're not going to cure it by smoking marijuana. You don't like that answer? I don't give a damn. Well, it has cancer-curing properties. No, it just kills cells entirely instead of just hurting them. You can also get cancer, I don't know if you know this, if you expose your hand to heat, like really high temperatures, and the cells keep having to replace themselves, some of the cells in the periphery of the damage are cooked to the point that it causes, like caramelization almost, it causes the DNA to be damaged enough that it can form a skin cancer. That doesn't mean burning off your finger will cure cancer any more effectively than just cutting it off. And that is not a bad analogy. It does not cure cancer. For the same reason radiation doesn't really cure cancer, it just causes the cells to die faster. Same thing with chemotherapy. You cause cells that are weak or susceptible to a specific thing you're doing to it. And let's get to this susceptibility, etc. Active ingredients including enzymes and another one called Plumbagin and another one listed that's called nutriceutical. I can't pronounce it, so you'll have to look it up. Plumbagins, like Bilbo Baggins, is a yellow dye material named after the plant genus Plumbago, from which it was originally isolated. Commonly found in carnivorous plant genre Drosera and Nepenthes. It also happens to be genotoxic, mutagenic, and generally toxic to humans. One of those words indicates that it can induce cancer or cause genetic malformations and mutations. Don't like that? I don't care. There are also enzymes involved. What do the enzymes do? Well, it's a carnivorous plant that eats flesh. Flesh-eating enzymes. Carnivorous plants consume bugs by dissolving their cells, liquefying them, and absorbing the resulting broken down proteins and compounds through the cell walls in the plant. Bugs are not made out of cancer cells, nor is a piece of hamburger, in spite of what you may have been told by some, well, we like to call them food Nazis. The point is, it digests cells. It doesn't differentiate between cancer cells and non-cancer cells. Just like smearing black salve on your skin doesn't differentiate between cancer cells and non-cancer cells, because it simply doesn't. Damn it. Now, one of these, the hard to pronounce yellow dye material that also happens to be a mutagenic, may also block, in certain cancers of the esophagus, STAT3 PLK1 AKT signaling, and may inhibit proliferation and survival of those cells through that mechanism being disrupted. You know what else would probably prevent cancer of the esophagus? Because it's also related to the previous comment. Not getting carcinogens in your throat. Alternative medicine Venus flytrap extract available on the market is sold as a herbal remedy because it couldn't pass muster with the FDA as being safe and effective. No, I'm not twisting this. They know for a fact that it could never be approved as a real medicine because they're avoiding getting it approved that way. So they use the scapegoating method of selling it as an herbal remedy or homeopathy or a supplement. The prime ingredient of a patent medicine named carnivora. The reason for the word patent is that you patent the term carnivora, even though it's a Latin term for an entire variety of creatures, which includes you and I. That is a weak patent, but it can be used to take down a YouTube channel, I suppose. According to the American Cancer Society, it's been promoted for alternative medicine as a cure for HIV, Crohn's disease, cancer, skin cancer specifically. Available scientific evidence doesn't have any claims about it being able to do this. There's not even an attempt at a claim for it. And there aren't any peer-reviewed studies that show that it's effective or safe, because they're the ones that are talked about are missing data, unconfirmable, or were deliberately sandbagged so that someone could say we submitted a peer-reviewed article. Some of them refuse to mention carnivora or the yellow dye material or another material. They avoid making it all about the same thing so you can definitively say that it works or doesn't. The idea is to avoid that last part. The Latin name for meat-eating placental mammals like you and I and your dog and cat, Venus flytrap extracts contain acids, that yellow dye material, flavonoids, and digestive protein enzymes that dismantle bugs, and therefore, also, if you didn't notice this, I had one as a pet, it'll digest meat. That means it's not differentiating between cancer and non-cancer. Now, where I'm going to read the rationale or irrationale of the guy who invented it. But let's get on with the rest. It's an oxidant. It's found in many unrelated plants and shown in a laboratory setting to be a genotoxic and mutagenic material. External use side effects include diarrhea, skin rash, liver damage, abnormal blood counts, and if you inject it into the skin or the muscles or veins, side effects will include nausea, vomiting, fever, chills, and the collapse of the entire circulatory system, resulting in death. This is recorded results on animal studies that aren't going to be carried out again because the subjects died. Female rats given this material failed to conceive if they didn't die, or if they were pregnant, were more likely to abort than those who weren't given any of this. The control creatures didn't die as much. The only result is that you would either not be able to conceive or abort, or just drop dead. Or maybe just a bunch of other characteristics at lower levels. Oral preparations contain as much as 25% alcohol. So get a chaser. It's not effective in treating any form of treatment of any kind of disease. It's not been found to show any useful effects in double-blind studies. People have studied it without permission of the person who came up with the design for it or the materials because, screw him, they're going to test it. but he's not seeking FDA approval, so doesn't have to pull it from the market because no medical claims are made because the website says that it's not useful for anything. It says overtly on their website, not just in lawyer speak, that it is useless. 1970s, German physician oncologist Helmut Keller noticed that a Venus flytrap eating bugs didn't get cell damage from eating bugs. For the same reason you and I don't get cell damage from eating a steak. Or maybe he was a vegan Nazi and thought that eating meat equals murdering your stomach cells. So he decided, this is his backstory, that it must contain a powerful immune system. So therefore he extracts a random compound which can cause you to have circulatory system damage, and enzymes which are designed to digest you, and called that some sort of miracle cure. After testing the liquids pressed from a Venus flytrap to determine whether or not they could digest cancer cells, ignoring that they would digest his finger eventually, he patented a brand name using the Latin word carnivora. Even though patenting a word is sort of like Microsoft patenting the alphabet, it's not going to work. But it allowed him to go ahead and harass people, I suppose, if they use the same word. He had a large financial stake in a clinic that administers it as a patent cure, and the company that manufactures it. And the backstory is, and this is really stupid, that plants don't get diseases from bugs very often. For the same reason that you and I don't get pneumonia from sticks. Yeah, the concept it's based on is somehow assuming that, because it's outside of his range of knowledge, he didn't know about plants or bugs, that somehow plants get diseases from bugs. And that if a plant eats the bug, okay, fine, here we go next. And worms eat dirt. Anyway, let's get on with this. Why was next? He claimed that out of 210 people with various types of cancer, because somehow the only cancer that's been listed is esophageal cancer. And it's not proven that it'll do anything out of a petri dish. His inspiration was that the enzymes and stuff would digest meat. You and I are made of meat. Therefore, it'll cure cancer. No, that's not an oversimplification. Anyway, 56% of them were in remission or stabilized their tumors, which means during this testing that went on in 1985, he didn't notice any changes for a period of time. How long was it? How many people? What was the follow-up? What did they die from? What was tested? The results of several other studies from India were positive but inconclusive, which is an oxymoron. That means they weren't positive or conclusive. The little-known German medical journal never peer-reviewed, replicated, or verified any of the work in the 1985 study. Didn't bother. And the word carnivora wasn't used in any of the test tube and mouse studies that were done either. The website actually tested its product, and only the 1989 test mentioned Venus flytrap, but they don't include the information on the mechanism of it. It's not approved by the Food and Drug Administration because they wouldn't seek approval. It's not that they're denied it or some sort of suppressed medicine. It's that they know that it won't pass muster. It has to be effective and safe. This is neither. And on to Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was treated for his disease by conventional medicine. It wasn't done by this. He was sent some of it. He might have ordered it. That's nice. There's a whole story behind that, but that's not relevant. What's relevant is he was cured by using normal medical treatments. He was saved for as long as he was by conventional medicine, not alternative medicine at all. The disclaimer on their website says that it literally does nothing. If you contact them about any of it, they want you to spend money on getting a research paper that's basically more advertisement copy. It eats flesh. It contains a compound that's known to literally cause you to abort or not be able to get pregnant or rip up and destroy your circulatory system. But hey, it might not kill you, because the dosage may be low enough that it has no effect. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.